fraud crime has no expiration. And today, we'll be bringing you the latest person on the radar of the FBI. Alien GH is the man the FBI could pick next, and we'll be telling you why. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, do so now, because we have back-to-back updates for you all. Alien is the next person expected to be picked up, and that could happen at any time. We already included him in Wicked Blogger, Ghana's list of individuals likely to be arrested by the FBI, alongside Dada, Joe Remix, Abu Trika, as well as Arrangement and Lancaster. No matter where he hides or how low-key he tries to stay, the feds are not likely to overlook him. He has reportedly been under monitoring for years, and investigations are said to be close to completion with key documentation already gathered. It is believed that he is aware he is under scrutiny and possibly facing travel restrictions, which may explain why he has gone quiet and is keeping a low profile to avoid attention. There are also claims that he has been seeking protection through various means. But realistically, that would not stop a formal investigation backed by evidence and international cooperation. According to our independent findings, Alien is alleged to have been involved in multiple fraudulent activities in the past, including schemes that targeted individuals through romance scams and business email compromise. These types of cases often involve cross-border financial transactions, which naturally attract the attention of international law enforcement agencies. He is also said to have had connections with individuals previously investigated or arrested, including Dada Joe, Remix, and Kofi Boat. His name reportedly appears repeatedly during investigations, which increases scrutiny and keeps him on the radar of authorities. Financial audits and transaction reviews are also believed to trace back to him, and investigators are said to be building a case based on collected evidence. If that process reaches the required legal threshold, enforcement action can happen at a time he may not expect. If an individual in such a situation attempts to leave the country while under investigation, international systems like Interpol can come into play, making it easier for authorities to track and detain them across borders through proper legal channels. Wicked Blogger Ghana stands by the information it shares, as our team works hard to verify details before presenting them. The goal is to keep our audience informed on developments as they unfold. While we wait to see how this situation develops, it is important to understand why individuals involved in such activities sometimes appear to operate freely for a period of time before facing consequences. The idea that the FBI relaxes before arresting people involved in fraud is a misunderstanding of how investigations actually work. What looks like delay or inaction from the outside is usually the opposite, a period of quiet, methodical work where agents are building a case strong enough to stand in court. In financial crime, especially cases that cross borders, speed is not the priority. Strength is. If investigators move too early, they risk losing the case entirely. So what people interpret as relaxation is often patience, and that patience is deliberate. The first reason for this slower, deliberate pace is that evidence has to meet a very high legal standard. It is not enough for investigators to suspect that something is wrong. They must be able to prove specific elements, what happened, how it happened, who was involved, and whether there was intent to defraud. Each of these elements has to be supported by evidence that can be presented and defended in court. If any part is weak or unclear, the entire case can collapse. That is why investigators take time to gather multiple layers of proof rather than acting on a single piece of information. Another major factor is the complexity of financial trails. Fraud cases often involve money moving through multiple accounts, sometimes across different countries, and sometimes through different types of financial systems. The money may be split, transferred, converted, or used to purchase assets. Each of these steps creates a trail, but connecting those trails takes time. Investigators must follow the money step by step, ensuring that each link is documented and verifiable. This is not something that can be rushed, because any break in the chain can weaken the case. There is also the issue of cross-border coordination. When a case involves more than one country, agencies must work together through formal legal processes. This includes sharing information, obtaining records, and coordinating actions. These processes are governed by agreements and legal requirements, which means they take time. Investigators cannot simply act in another country without following proper procedures. So while it may look like nothing is happening, There are often multiple agencies working behind the scenes to align their efforts. Another reason for the delay is the need to identify the full scope of the activity. Investigators are not just looking at one incident. They are trying to understand the entire operation. This includes identifying all individuals involved, all accounts used, and all victims affected. Acting too early might stop one part of the activity, but it could leave other parts untouched. By taking time to map out the full network, investigators can address the problem more completely. There is also a strategic element to timing. In some cases, investigators may choose to observe behavior over a period of time to confirm patterns. This does not mean encouraging or allowing crime. It means documenting what is already happening in a way that strengthens the case. Repeated actions, consistent methods, and ongoing patterns make it easier to demonstrate intent and involvement. A single incident can be explained in many ways, but a pattern is much harder to dispute. Technology also plays a role in this process. While digital systems allow investigators to collect data, they also create large volumes of information that must be analyzed carefully. Sorting through communication records, transaction logs, and other digital evidence takes time. Investigators must ensure that the data is accurate, relevant, and properly connected to the case. This analysis is critical because it forms the foundation of the evidence presented in court. Another important factor is the role of financial institutions and reporting systems. Banks and payment platforms are required to monitor and report suspicious activity, but these reports do not immediately lead to arrests. They are reviewed, analyzed, and often combined with other information. This process helps investigators build a clearer picture of what is happening, but it also adds to the timeline. There is also the consideration of legal approvals. Certain investigative actions, such as accessing specific records or taking enforcement steps, require authorization from courts or other authorities. These approvals are necessary to ensure that the investigation follows legal standards, but they also take time. Investigators must prepare requests, present justifications, and wait for decisions before proceeding. Another reason for the perceived delay is that investigators often aim to maximize the impact of their actions. Instead of making multiple small arrests, they may wait until they can address a larger portion of the activity at once. This approach can be more effective in disrupting operations and preventing them from continuing. It also ensures that the case is as complete as possible when it reaches court. It is also important to understand that not all activity is immediately visible or traceable. Some aspects of fraud are designed to be hidden or disguised, which means investigators must work carefully to uncover them. This can involve analyzing patterns, comparing data, and verifying information from multiple sources. Each step adds to the timeline, but also strengthens the case. Another factor is the need to protect the integrity of the investigation. Acting too quickly can alert individuals that they are being investigated, which may lead them to change their behavior, move assets, or destroy evidence. By proceeding carefully, investigators can reduce the risk of this happening and ensure that they gather as much information as possible before taking action. There is also the role of prosecutors, who review the evidence before charges are filed. They must be confident that the case meets the required legal standards and that it is strong enough to proceed. This review process is another step that takes time, but is essential for ensuring that the case is handled properly. Another reason for the timeline is the volume of cases. Agencies like the FBI handle many investigations at once, and resources must be allocated based on priority and complexity. Cases that involve significant financial loss, multiple victims, or organized activity may receive more attention, but they also require more work. It is also worth noting that what appears to be a delay is often the result of ongoing work that is not visible to the public. Investigations are conducted quietly to avoid compromising them. By the time an arrest is made, much of the work has already been completed. The public only sees the final step, not the process that led to it. Another aspect is the importance of building a case that can withstand defense challenges. Defense lawyers will examine every detail of the evidence, looking for weaknesses or inconsistencies. Investigators must anticipate these challenges and ensure that their case is solid. This requires careful preparation and attention to detail. There is also the issue of asset tracing and recovery, which often happens alongside the investigation. Identifying and securing assets takes time. especially when they are spread across different locations or converted into different forms. This work is important not only for the case, but also for potential restitution. Another factor is the need to establish intent, which is a key element in fraud cases. It is not enough to show that money moved. Investigators must show that it was done with the intention to deceive. This often requires multiple pieces of evidence and a clear narrative, which takes time to develop. There is also the broader goal of deterrence. By building strong cases and securing convictions, law enforcement sends a message that these activities have consequences. This is more effective when cases are well prepared and successful, rather than rushed and weak. Finally, it is important to understand that the timeline is not about giving anyone time to act freely. It is about ensuring that when action is taken, it is effective and legally sound. The goal is not just to make an arrest, but to build a case that leads to a meaningful outcome in court. So when you look at it directly, the FBI is not relaxing. It is working carefully, systematically, and strategically to ensure that when arrests happen, they are supported by strong evidence and lead to results that hold up under scrutiny. What looks like delay is actually preparation. And that preparation is what makes the difference between a case that fails and one that succeeds.